Welcome, everyone. Today you are joining us for Digital and Visual Strategies to Improve Tribal Child Welfare Practice. My name is Sarah Nelson, and I'm the Universal Services Manager for the Capacity Building Center for Tribes. I am joined today by my colleagues from the University of Southern Maine, Esther Ann and Adrienne Jalbert, and we are going to chat with you a little bit about the services that we provide at the Center for Tribes, as well as the Tribal Information Exchange, the website that we manage. We're going to take a moment to introduce each of ourselves, and I'll get started quickly. As I said, my name is Sarah Nelson. I have been the Universal Services Manager with the Center for Tribes Project for about a year and a half now. And in that role, I support our team in developing and disseminating resources for tribal child welfare professionals. We're going to talk all about those resources today, so I'm going to leave that there. I've also supported this project in roles under evaluation and our targeted services, including our peer group development and our academies. And I am delighted to be here with you all today. My background is in tribal child welfare, and I previously worked with the Denver Indian Family Resource Center. I also was a Booter Scholar with the Booter Center for American Indian Studies and have done a number of projects with them supporting health communications and health promotion with tribal communities. And so I am from the Upper Peninsula of Michigan. However, I'm joining you today from nearly 110-degree Las Vegas. And so I am going to pass that over to my colleague, Esther Ann.
Kway, in Flewies, Esther Ann. Kobanaki, Vestromokari nil, Nurebeg Zibayig, Wigubanawabskewi. My name is Esther Ann. I am Wabanaki, the people of the place where the sun first looks our way. My people are Passamaquoddy, where the pollock spears. We spear pollock. And my family is from Zibayig, which literally means on the edge. And I live here at the place of the White Rocks with the Penobscot people in what is now called Maine. I work for the Catherine Cutler Institute at the University of Southern Maine. I have been with the Capacity Building Center for Tribes project for about 8 years. And I help develop products, content expert. I have extensive experience in educating folks around the Indian Child Welfare Act and working with tribes and states on developing partnerships. And I'm very happy to be here.
Hi, my name is Adrienne Jalbert. I work at the University of Southern Maine's Catherine Cutler Institute. I am a digital product specialist, so my role here with the Capacity Building Center for Tribes is to focus on the technology that we use to make resources and products. I've been with the Capacity Building Center for Tribes for about 4 years now and work on a variety of other products and projects in the same capacity.
Great, thank you so much, Esther and Adrienne. All right, so very quickly, I'll share our agenda for today. A couple pieces of housekeeping. We have some resources that we'll be sharing in our chat, as well as QR codes on the screen. If you want to pull out your phone and scan that QR code when it comes up, go ahead, but we'll also share that link in the chat too for you. We have an evaluation. It's a feedback survey that will come up on your screen at the end of the webinar today when you close out Zoom. If you would like to take that, we greatly appreciate your feedback. It supports us in developing products that are relevant and accessible to you. And today we are going to be talking about a few different topics. I'll cover briefly a little bit about the Capacity Building Center for Tribes and the services that we provide. I will talk more specifically about our universal services and those products and resources available to tribal child welfare professionals. And then we'll be talking a little bit about our tools from tribes and do a walkthrough of our Tribal Information Exchange website to show you what's available currently and let you know about some updates that we have coming soon. And lastly, we'll be talking about how you can expand your program's capacity. So we'll explain a little bit about some of the ways that we've done our work and how you might be able to replicate that within your program or consider partnering with others. We have a couple learning objectives that we hope you walk away with today. One of them is that we hope you become familiar with our resources and that you feel comfortable going on our website and searching for something and being able to find it, or contacting one of us if you're not able to. We also hope you walk away having skills and knowledge to be able to locate those resources, which I pretty much just said. But we want you to understand exactly how our search functions work, as well as our other websites that we're connected to, including our YouTube page. And lastly, we want you to learn some insights and best practices for developing your own resources, including drawing from some of the experience we've had at the Capacity Building Center for Tribes over nearly 10 years. We're going to talk a little bit about the Center for Tribes. And as I mentioned, we'll be going back to some of those poll questions when we talk more about our services. So the Capacity Building Center for Tribes is part of a cooperative agreement that is funded by the Children's Bureau. We are in year 9 of essentially 10 years of the Capacity Building Center for Tribes, and our cooperative agreement ends this September. We are part of a larger capacity building collaborative that includes the Capacity Building Center for Courts, states, and ourselves, the Center for Tribes. And the Center for Tribes itself is a collaborative partnership across 6 organizations: the Butler Institute for Families at University of Denver, Tribal Law and Policy Institute, the Catherine Cutler Cutler Institute at the University of Southern Maine, the National Native Children's Trauma Center at University of Montana, the Center for Tribal Social Work at University of Oklahoma, and WestAT. And between our 6 organizations, there's roughly 40 to 50 program staff that support the development of resources, as well as the provision of technical assistance to tribal child welfare programs. And we do this across 3 different service areas. And so, as I mentioned, our team is part of what we call our universal services. These are services that are designed to spread useful information and practical resources to tribal child welfare professionals across Indian country. We design them for a tribal audience in recognition that our resources are utilized by and can be accessed by anybody globally. And so we make an intentional effort to create resources that are culturally responsive and adaptive to what our tribes need first and foremost. We then ensure that those resources are available to support tribes, and we do that by having social media as well as a mailing list and a website that we'll talk more about. We also have what we call our targeted services, and this service area is intended to engage specific groups of tribal child welfare leaders and workers. And these services build knowledge and skills that foster communication and supportive relationships among tribal child welfare agencies. This may include peer groups or learning academies. And lastly, but very critically, we also have our tailored services. This is what we call our direct technical assistance that is provided individually to tribal child welfare programs to enhance their capacity through organizational change and systems improvement. And so going a little bit deeper into our universal services, our team is responsible for essentially 3 core areas. We create tribal child welfare resources. And to do that, we gather information in terms of identifying the needs that are out there, what we're seeing as gaps in resource availability, what folks are asking us for that we might not have or no one may have. And so we take all of that and we develop resources for a tribal child welfare audience. Those resources are provided in different modalities, including PDFs. We have briefs, tools, resource lists, and templates. We have a podcast that's available on any podcasting platform, and that's also available on our website. So if folks want to listen on their phone or on their computer, they can do that easily. We also host webinars. When we host a webinar, we record the live webinar, and we also have that webinar disseminated on our Tribal Information Exchange website, as well as YouTube, so that folks can access it at any point in time. And we also develop e-learnings too. And we're in the process of creating e-learnings that can easily be started and stopped at certain points, so that if someone wants to connect with that training for a little bit, needs to do some work and go back to it, they can do it with ease. And so we have a number of e-learnings already, and we're working on making those more robust. Another piece of the work that we do is we gather tribal child welfare resources. One of the things that Esther will be talking about today is our Tools from Tribes section of our website. And we gather resources from other tribal child welfare programs, from tribal child welfare programs and other child serving agencies. And we put those on our Tools from Tribes section of our website. We encourage folks to share resources with us. We are able to de-identify those, and we'll talk more about that in a little bit. We also share our resources. As I mentioned, dissemination is a really big piece of our work, and dissemination happens through a number of avenues. We have our Tribal Information Exchange website that I'll talk a little more about in a minute, our weekly emails that we send through our listserv, and our social media and our YouTube channels. And none of us do this work alone. So we have a team of 7 staff that have various roles, including project management, subject matter expertise in tribal child welfare, and skills in product research. We also have folks that have expertise in content development and creating those resources, web management and security, and finance and administrative support. So we could not do this alone. It absolutely takes a village to create and share resources. Okay, next I'm going to jump into our Tribal Information Exchange more specifically. And so the QR code on your page will link you to the website tribalinformationexchange.org. When you get to our website, you will be greeted by this homepage. And within that homepage, you'll see a number of featured resources. We're going to do a walkthrough in a minute, so I'm not going to talk too much about it. But what you'll also find there is a link to our resource library, as well as a link to, I believe we now have 10 different resource pages for various topics related to tribal child welfare. And our TIE currently includes over 500 products. We have 126 print products, 70 YouTube videos, 307 tools from tribes. And we also have a number of e-learnings, apps, and our podcasts as well. So over 500 products and resources are available on the TIE to build capacity of tribal child welfare programs. And as I mentioned, that includes over 300 resources from tribes. Our website sees at least 20,000 unique visitors per year. And let's see what else I can tell you about it. It offers these various resource categories. And our number 1 resource category is our ICWA category. And we find that our number 2 category is healing and trauma, followed by our number 3 category of strengthening families. And we just today launched our new prevention page, so we'll show you that in a little bit. Each of these pages includes resources that are relevant to tribal child welfare professionals across various areas of tribal child welfare. So that could be leadership, that could be technology or data, that could be somebody that's in a decision-making role or a supervisor or direct worker. We try to have resources for each of those levels of service so that we're providing a wide array of support for our tribal child welfare programs. And these are our product download numbers from the last 3 years. We had 560,000 downloads in that time span. 150,000 of them were, and we had 357,000 of those were our Center for Tribes resources that we had developed, and 204,000 of those downloads were our tools from tribes. So our website sees a lot of traffic. And much of that traffic, even though we don't see the same volume of people on our website that is correlated with the number of downloads, that's because we're disseminating our direct resources to people. So they don't have to go through the clicks of the website to get to a resource that they need. They may find it through a Google search, which is one of the most common ways people get connected with our resources. Or they may be clicking on it from an email that we send them that is a direct link to the resource. So that is why there's that discrepancy there, but that also shows the reach that we have of our resources getting out into the world. And these are some of our most frequently downloaded products from the last year. All of these are available on our website. If you search for them, you'll be able to find them really quickly. We have a family assessment tool, how to overcome bias. This actually, there's a little bias in this data because there's a state that uses this tool in their training and has a direct link to it. And so every worker that goes through the state caseworker training is going to the Tribal Information Exchange to see this resource. So there's some information to share why there's that outlier in our data. Our ICWA resources are also very popular, and we've just added a number of new ones recently. We're working on a new higher standards resource list that should be out very soon. And we continue to see a high number of downloads for the ICWA resources. And I think part of that is because our resources are developed for a tribal child welfare audience, whereas many resources are developed either for a general audience or for a state audience. In recognizing that ICWA is for states, it's really important that we also recognize what tribes need to know about ICWA. And so we really try to respond to that by having a comprehensive array of resources in that area. And lastly, one of our other popular downloads was our Adverse Childhood Experiences resource list. And we have a number of resource lists related to healing, to trauma, and to supporting families. Okay, I'm going to pass things over to Esther.
Thank you, Sarah. A lot of numbers there. You did a good job rattling those off. So the tools from tribes, at the heart of this piece of our website is the reciprocity. We know that we feel supported and more connected when we practice reciprocity. Reciprocity is a foundational value of, I dare say, every tribal culture on Turtle Island. And what our connection to each other as tribes and tribal people has been our salvation through the largest genocide the world has ever known and the longest. And so this Tools from Tribes is a place to lift up that strength that we have in that connection with each other. So the history of the Tools from Tribes, I don't know what year it was, but Nanette Bishop was a regional officer for Region 6, and she had asked the Capacity Building Center for Tribes if we could create a repository for all of the forms, et cetera, that she had collected from the tribes in her region. And that was the beginning of this wonderful resource. She was often asked for the same forms over and over, and she felt that there were others who would benefit from seeing them. So the USM team then designed and built the site, collected and de-identified all of the forms from the net, and also did a thorough internet search for additional forms that were posted publicly by tribes. They were categorized and posted on the website, and we worked hard to advertise the site to tribes and encourage folks to use it. It's a place where you'll find anything you could need, from case plans to codes to job descriptions. And as you can see here, the numbers of downloads over the last 3 years. And Sarah said there are 307 resources there now, and that's 204,000 downloads over the last 3 years and 105 just in the last year. So Tools from Tribes is a great site to bookmark, because so you can access it easily. It can save you time. Instead of rebuilding a form and creating a form from scratch, you can go on Tools from Tribes and see which forms that they use. And I encourage anyone that has tools, either from a tribe or a tribal serving agency or organization, to look at what you have and look at what's on there, see what's missing, and maybe share something that you've created that you're proud of and you want to share and to the benefit of other tribes. So this, I want to talk a little bit about an example of a tribal home study that we did. So some of you might know Kendra Loudon. And in the spring of 2021, we had been a year into the pandemic, so we were really getting versed in how to do things online. The Universal Services team videotaped Kendra. She's from the Citizen Potawatomi Nation. And we videotaped her as she shared the home study tool that was used by the Fire Lodge Children and Family Services at the Citizen Potawatomi Nation. Kendra served in the role of the foster care adoption manager at that time. And then we hosted a webinar with Kendra that was titled Tribal Home Studies, The Basics and Beyond. And this webinar provided an in-depth overview of how to conduct a thorough home study. In this webinar, Kendra shared the tools that she helped develop. Participants heard real stories, explored case examples, and watched role-play videos that Kendra and I created. It was a lot of fun. I must admit I had a lot of fun with Kendra doing this product. The role-play videos illustrated the specific interviewing techniques that are used in conducting home studies, including how to have difficult conversations and ask tough questions. And all of those, that QR code, all of those products are available on our Tools from Tribe page. So these are the most frequent Tools from Tribes downloads in the past year. This wonderful Two-Spirit resource, the mask, I love that mask, that was created by Lenny Hayes. And this resource had over 6,000 downloads in the last year. And it was created and supported by the Minnesota Indian Women Sexual Assault Coalition. And it's a wonderful resource that you can download. Next, we have a Lakota grandparent's perspective on raising grandchildren. And this resource is wonderful as well. I think, obviously, because it's been downloaded so much, folks find it very helpful. This simple data sharing agreement, sample, it is a sample, and that is right in the Tools from Tribes site under sharing agreements. And that has been downloaded many times too. We have 3 sample data sharing agreements there currently. And as I said, if you have something similar that you would like to share, we would be more than happy to include that in our Tools from Tribes. We can de-identify, or we can sometimes ask to have their name stay on there so that folks will know who it came from. So we can do a little walkthrough of the time, Sarah, right now. All right. So we should go to the homepage of the Tribal Information Exchange. So this is our homepage, and the menu on the top, you'll see About Us, Resources, and the third one over is the Tools from Tribes site. And it's separated from the other resources, so to make sure that it stands out and you know this is where I need to go to find a Tools from Tribes. Can we click on that? And we have it all organized by these different categories. Some of the categories are more heavily populated than the others. And as you go through it and scroll through it, you'll see ones that have a lot of resources. At one point, we received a lot of resources from one tribe that really populated our Tools from Tribes, and we're in the process of doing that again. We just completed a 6-week intensive research of the internet and of all of the tribal websites to find more useful tools for tribes to use. Our resources page is what Sarah had mentioned and showed a picture of, and this is where we have our resources that we create. Those universal service products are listed here. We just launched this new prevention page, which I'm so happy about, where all of our prevention resources are here. There's a picture, a description, and then a bar that you can click to download. We try to really make our resources accessible from many different points. So you can access them through these resource categories. You could go under the search our library and put in a keyword and find it that quickly. But I think there's an advantage to scrolling through each of the resource pages so you can see things that you might not have known that you needed until you saw them there. one of the most important pieces of our site is the mailing list sign up location. If you're not signed up for our mailing list yet, I encourage you to do so. You will receive timely, succinctly written information very regularly and consistently, as well as our spring newsletter. So you can sign up to be on our mailing list, subscribe to our mailing list. If you have any questions, you can just hit that button and send us an email. We're very responsive. And you can also sign up to receive our seasonal newsletter. So are there any resources that you're looking for today to help you with your work? Maybe we can go on a little hunt. Is there any, just put it in the chat if there's something you're looking for specifically, and we can go find it. Hopefully you're all scrolling on the tie right now and you're so busy. Okay, policy examples for foster care. Okay, so under tools from tribes, we have foster care licensing category. And this category has applications, home inspections, checklists, licensing policy from the Lummi Nation is there. There are foster care standards. So that this category is very heavily populated. So I'm hoping you can find what you're looking for there. And if you don't, please hit that contact button and let us know, and we will do our best to find what you need. We're always here to help. Anything
Thank you
else
so
anyone
much,
wants?
Esther.
Okay, great. Thank you.
I encourage folks, if you have other things, please put them in the chat. The only other thing I'm going to mention on the tie is our podcast page. So under resources, we have the podcast listed. And here you'll find all of our podcast episodes. As soon as they come out, we post them on this website. And they also will be available on SoundCloud, on Apple Podcasts, or pretty much anywhere you're listening to podcasts. If you search for Capacity Building Center for Tribes, we should come up.
I just want to add my bias. The episode 3 in the first season, restoring our children to their original value of sacred beings, is the most wonderful podcast I have ever listened to. Ethleen Ironcloud Two Dogs speaks in that podcast, and it's just beautiful.
Great. Thank you so much, Esther. And thank you, everyone. I'm going to get back to our slides and pass the mic over to Adrienne.
Thank you, Sarah. So I want to help expand your capacity a little bit by talking about the overarching themes and best practices we use to make this whole communication network work for us. So to build this communication system, it's made up of one central location, which is our TIE, the Tribal Information Exchange website, and 3 satellite kind of communication channels. So we have our YouTube channel, we have social media, and we have email communication. Each of these 3 supporting platforms supports different products and have different communication goals. So central to our communication is the TIE, and that is our most important and our first focus when we have new products, and then we use these satellite channels to support the TIE. Some of the things that we think about when we're working on this is making sure that our central location is very reliable. Having a reliable central location allows us to focus on maintenance efficiency, version control, and making sure that our links work. So what a central communication location can do for you is creating this central location for resources, whether public or internal, can be really important because whether you're building an external website or an internal hub of workforce resources, we need to make sure that they're accessible to all, and they need to be accessible to us and you as well. Now, having a website is very glamorous, but it's not very helpful if you don't have the time and capacity to keep it up to date, right? And to maintain it. So you may want to consider using a platform that your team already has access to. This will eliminate one more login for everyone, which I know we would all love, and help save time and energy when learning new platforms. So if you're using a Google platform or you're using Microsoft and you use OneDrive, you can use those systems as your central resource location. Doesn't need to be a website. It doesn't need to be anything fancy. As long as you have one go-to place that everyone can access to gain their resources. So we built the tie on a platform called WordPress, which doesn't require knowledge of coding, but it can be pretty advanced to learn if you aren't familiar with website development. One of the perks we find with the website is that it allows us to host things like our podcasts and e-learnings directly on it. So it's very versatile for us. We have lots of different types of media, so it's important that we're making sure that you can access them all. But versatility doesn't just exist on websites. You can utilize the versatility of Microsoft Office Suite, which now hosts links, most standard file types, so such as video, audio, Word documents, PDFs, PowerPoints, all those things can be housed right in OneDrive. But what's most important is that you choose the right platform for you. And the right platform can also provide you with data and analytics like we've been sharing with you. So how we're able to report out all of these numbers to you is because we've devised this communication system that speaks to each other. And so that's the only way we're able to provide you this information today. And I know data and analytics can get a little bit scary, but they can be pretty easy. Even with OneDrive or Google Drive, you can track who's been opening the files, when they last visited it, when they last worked on something. So using just the surface analytics like that without deep diving can be really useful. One of the things that I like to bring up is I've helped the state of Maine with their child welfare policies because they were having trouble knowing whether people were even reading them. So we designed a central location where all the policy lived, and so we could track who was actually reading and visiting and opening the policies and who wasn't. Another challenge we faced with them was version control. So version control is one thing we're always thinking about, and how we kind of cheat that system a little bit is by linking everything. So Sarah talked a lot about links, and we use links in our email communications, into our website, but they all point back to the same place. So no matter where you're clicking, we can tell that you've visited this product from an email, or you found it on Facebook because we shared it there, or through a Google search, which is really helpful in knowing how you got to that place. You know, it's also helpful to know that you didn't visit the landing page because you knew exactly what you were looking for. So all of these things give us clues using our website, but you can do the same with file sharing on your own networks. So email campaigns. This is our like secondary large kind of way of communicating to you. So the purpose is to promote upcoming events, spotlight new products and resources, and to provide time-sensitive, industry-relevant news. So the content that we choose to share out is almost always going to link right back to our website, and if not our website, then to someone else's. So what content we share out is always methodical And we use our website analytics to help us make these decisions. So the first thing we look at is what upcoming events, such as webinars or trainings, do we wish to promote? We then think about any new products that we want to share out and promote, because if we just put a new product on the website, chances are no one will know it is there until we send it out in an email and say, hey, look at this. One of the best things about our email campaigns, though, is if we do that, if we launch a new product through email and it's on the tie and nobody clicks on it in that email, we know right away that we missed the mark. It wasn't what you were looking for. It wasn't relevant to this moment. And that gives us a lot of information about what products we should send out to you next. Additionally, we also use this method to spotlight older products that have been on our website for a while that people may have forgotten about. So sometimes we have resources that aren't getting many downloads that we really want to promote because we think they're relevant and useful. So we use our analytics and we can compare if we re-highlight them through an email campaign. We can see that, oh, this is getting downloaded again. And we can also see that you clicked on it from our email. And so now we know our email campaigns are working. We were able to send you something relevant. We know that because you clicked on it. We know that you opened our email, so we know where you got it from. And now you're visiting the tie and you know where that resource lives. So it's all part of our grand plan to connect you through all of our links. And the next modality that we use is social media. So we're on 2 different platforms. It's LinkedIn and Facebook. And this is fairly new to us at the Center for Tribes. But it's a great way to have another channel to reach our audiences in 2 very unique ways. So we utilize LinkedIn, which is a profile style social media website for professionals. And so their goal is to promote success and professional development opportunities. And so we use that platform to do the same. We highlight career opportunities that we have. We highlight upcoming webinars and professional development opportunities, and we share our best practices there. So while LinkedIn can provide us with analytics about our audience and who's visiting there and who's using our resources that we share, we have the benefit of having a presence on this site where we already know why the audience is there. They're there because child welfare is part of their career. And so we have a pretty big clue right there what people are looking for content. So having this information up front makes it really easy for us to tailor our content to this audience. Now with Facebook, it's a different story. There are so many reasons a person may be using Facebook. So we really have to rely on the analytics that Facebook provides us with to understand what our audience wants most from our account there. Now, certain types of content lend themselves better to media platforms such as Facebook. So we'll post videos and relevant news, timely notifications, and also event invites. We know those work best for Facebook. We also know that Facebook users often engage with breaking news and current events, but it can be hard to tell what people are really looking for in between family photos and other events. And so this is a place where the analytics are really important to us to help us gather exactly what people are looking for on Facebook to make sure that we are hitting that mark for you. And then the last platform I want to talk about is a very intentional use platform. So I'm going to use YouTube as an example, but what I'm really talking about here is platforms that are made for one use and one use only. So YouTube is a video sharing platform. which provides benefits that aren't always noticed. YouTube provides analytics on viewership, whether the videos are public or not. So channels intended to be shared internally and only viewable by link can be used to measure internal data statistics as well. So if you have an informational video or a training video that you internally want people to watch and you don't want it to be a public video, you can still track how many views that's getting. So if it's a training meant for everyone, you should be able to see that everyone has watched it. If it's optional, you'll also get to see how many people are viewing it as an option or how many people feel they might need that training. So it's going to give you some extra clues, even if you're only using the videos internally. Another key benefit to using YouTube to house your videos is that the videos are optimized to work across varying internet speeds. And this is really important. I'm not going to go too deep into how internet speeds work and things like that, but when we're talking about rural areas, we want to make sure that people can watch the videos. And one thing that YouTube can do is it understands the internet speed that you're using to try and watch the video, and it adapts. So if you had a more static platform, say you just put the video on your website, that website isn't necessarily going to do the same thing. It's going to try and play that video at its highest capacity using the most data so you get this beautiful, crisp video. And if you don't have high internet speeds, you might not be able to watch that video at all. So when we're talking about reaching rural areas, YouTube is like the go-to for videos because it adapts to that speed. So even if you don't have a strong connection or a slow internet speed, YouTube will adjust the video playing speed so that you can still watch it without that optimal amount of data. So that's one thing I really like to share with folks about YouTube because it seems like the obvious choice for hosting videos, but not many people know that it has that ability to adapt to different internet speeds, and that is really important to us. So those are the 3 supporting channels that we use to support the TIE. And what keeps this all together for us is that we link everything. And that is so important. I just cannot stress that enough, that using links and not attaching documents is what makes the system work for us. It makes sure that whether you click on the link this month or next month, you're always getting the most up-to-date resource. We know exactly what you're clicking on. We know that you like it. We use our data to inform all of these decisions. So it's so important to us to make sure that you're getting what you need and we're getting those responses back.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Adrienne. Thank you as well, Esther. All right, we're getting near the end. I want to share a couple resources with folks in the chat. As we've already shared, we have the Tribal Information Exchange as a resource for you, and we also encourage folks to check out the Child Welfare Information Gateway. You can search by different keywords, and there are specific resource categories for Native populations in particular. And we also encourage folks to check out the National Indian Child Welfare National Indian Child Welfare Association. They have a number of resources for tribal child welfare professionals. And what I shared in the chat is the cultural guide for the development of tribal child welfare products. This provides some information that we use when we think about how we're developing resources and walks through a cultural matrix to ensure we're meeting the needs of the audience that we're developing a product for. We recently did a webinar about this with the Center for Native Child and Family Resilience, and I shared that link in the chat as well. And we also have another resource to share, Walk Softly and Listen Carefully, Building Research Relationships with Tribal Communities. This is another resource, although it's about research, that we recommend that folks check out if they're interested in developing resources or platforms for resources. And lastly, here are those QR codes one last time if you want to take a picture or Get those on your phone and bookmarked, and all of the links are there. And we also showed you at the bottom of our Tribal Information Exchange web page. If you scroll all the way down to that welcome page, you'll be able to subscribe to our newsletter and get our weekly communications. If you ever want to unsubscribe, you have the option immediately to do that on any newsletter. And if you want to forward it to everybody in your office, you have that option as well. So we encourage you to check out our resources, get connected with them in the way that is good for you and your work, and get your team connected as well. And lastly, I just want to offer a very, very warm appreciation to all of you from very hot Las Vegas for being here with us today. We know this was an hour of your time and you could have been somewhere else, and you chose to spend it learning about our services and our program and our website. And so thank you for being here. If you have any questions, we encourage you to reach out to us. This is our contact information, and we're going to stay on for a couple minutes if there's anything else folks have. But again, I thank you very much for being here. We can't do this work without you. And like I said, there will be a survey that comes up. If you respond to that, we love to see your feedback. We respond to it, and that's what supports our product development. And I thank you very much, Team Miigwech, and I hope you have a great rest of your day. And if you have a question, please feel free to share it in the chat.